Seems kind of light. Well, let's check it out. Hello, welcome to Lancaster Hi-Fi. I'm Stephen Lancaster, and I got another package from David Clayton in Florida. My understanding it's supposed to be a preamp. Seems very light, but hey, let's check it out. See what we got here. Give it a listen. All that awesome stuff. Well, let's open it up and see what we've got. Styrofoam. See if I can avoid getting it all over the place. Now, not a big fan of styrofoam from the neatness and environmental perspective, but it's hard to beat when it comes to packing material. Interesting here. Preamp 7.0 prototype manual first draft. Clayton Acoustic Systems. Cool. Okay, interesting. Not exactly double boxed, but kind of like double boxed. You've got wrapped in cardboard. Try to get all the pieces of. Maybe I don't need to get them all out, but anyway. Boy, I love that squeaky styrofoam sound, huh? It's like fingernails on a blackboard. Interesting. Got a couple of power cords here. Looks like this one is perhaps meant to just be an extension. Okay, that is a box. Not just sort of a box, but actually a box. Double boxed, good deal. Let's go ahead and get this out of the big box. Get the big box out of the way. Looks very nice. We've got an open grill on the top. We've got more styrofoam in here. Lots of knobs. Okay, wooden ends. I can pull it straight out. Okay, not much styrofoam inside, just enough. Have to protect the knobs in the back. Even got a desiccant pack in there to keep it dry. Keep it from getting too moist. You wouldn't want it to get moist. Okay, neat. Ziploc bag. Looks like it's double bagged. So I got outer bag with the desiccant in there. Okay, it's not completely closed double bagged. Looks like a smaller Ziploc there. It's definitely the case if you're going to pack something in using styrofoam, you really do want to protect the thing with plastic bags like this. Keep the styrofoam out of the device. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, what do we have? It says Model 7 Preamp, Clayton Acoustic Systems, active. Alright, well obviously this is going to require some careful study. Interesting. Top slides right out. Oh, very interesting. I think I just assumed that this was a tube preamp, but it is not. This is solid state, and that would explain the lightness. There's really a lot of room inside and a very small transformer. don't know. This is Class B, Triad. I don't know exactly what that means. I know what Class B is, but I don't know what it necessarily means in this context. Like, is that a power supply transformer? I think so. Is this a switching mode power supply, or does it just not require much power? But you know, if it's running with op amps, those are typically just going to need a plus and minus 15 volts, not a lot of wattage. Pretty interesting idea here. We've got lots of power outputs on the back. So we can plug in 3 input devices and the power amp. And of course, then here's our regular line in. That's interesting. I've never seen this particular deal before, but that explains this cord here. So this plug would go to the power input module of whatever device, and this plugs into the back of the preamp. Okay. Well, this clearly needs to be plugged in and tested. Wouldn't you say? Well, here we are close up to the faceplate. And, I'll just give you a little size reference. We got the Macintosh below it. It's looking dusty. I'm just going to give it a wipe down with some basic multi-purpose, multi-surface cleaner here. It's hard to read the logos and whatnot. I don't know if it might just be the way it is, but it wouldn't hurt to give it a little dusting. See if that clears things up a bit. Probably not. Alright, looks like that's just the way it is. I suspect those are like laser etched or something. It's definitely not the usual sort of silk screen or whatever. So I'm gonna open up the manual here and let's just walk through it. So the Preamp 7.0 is a prototype analog preamplifier designed to provide maximum transparency and flexibility. It features end-to-end analog signal path, no coupling capacitors in the audio path, precision low and high frequency filters, integrated Bluetooth input with remote and phone call support, switched inputs and tone defeat function. Prototype notice: this unit is a prototype. Circuit design, construction, and features may change in future production models. Features and benefits: analog signal path preserves harmonic integrity with no digital conversion. No coupling capacitors, eliminates phase distortion and low frequency roll-off. Precision filters: adjustable low 22 to 1000 Hz and high 1 to 16 kHz filters, plus and minus 6 dB boost/cut. Tone defeat: engage, disengage tone circuitry with LED status indicator. Bluetooth input: wireless playback with limited remote control and phone call handling. Analog switching: reliable and noise-free input selection. Let's walk us through the overview. We have input select, phono 1, 2, 3, and looks like Bluetooth. Bluetooth controls: back, play, pause, skip. Bluetooth indicator, low filter Q. The Q factor has to do whether it's a wide or narrow filter, and so all the way up is narrow. low filter boost cut plus or minus 6 dB. And that's a continuous knob. So I guess that's our low frequency tone control. Low filter frequency. Okay, that's a continuous control. Goes up to 1 kilohertz and I think, yeah, down to 22. Tone defeat switch. And there's an indicator there. High filter Q. The frequency. And the cut versus boost. Balance. And of course, volume. All analog, I'm assuming, although I'll look under the hood, that these are all potentiometers. I think they are all potentiometers. They're very small, modern ones, and sealed. So here's the rear panel. We've got line input or phono. This is the non-phono option, so we see there's no phono chassis ground here. And line input 2 and 3, and line output. Here's our AC input. Looks like there's a fuse panel here, and our AC outputs. So installation and connections, connect AC power to the IEC inlet. Optional devices may be powered from the switched AC outlets. Do not exceed rated current. Connect sources to line inputs and phono option board as needed. Connect preamp outputs to power amplifier. Oh, and of course here's our Bluetooth module. All right, I've been reading the manual and going to videos that are linked with these QR codes in the manual. This one about using the filter / tone controls, and this one the advanced internal settings. So let's talk about those tone controls first, and I'll turn it around here. Okay, it looks like they're not really meant to be tone controls per se, as much as they're meant to provide ways to correct for holes or peaks, dips or peaks in your speaker response. So in this video he demonstrates, David does, using the tone generator that I have on my phone and the Bluetooth connection, and sitting in your chair and figuring out what frequency ranges are problems. In his case, he was looking at peaks in the response that might be fatiguing to the ear. And so these are bandpass filters. So you select the frequency that you want to boost or cut with this knob. You select the amount of boost or cut you want with this knob. And you select the width of the bandpass filter with this knob, making it more narrow as you turn it up, wider as you go down. And similarly here, when you have a dip or a peak in your speaker's response in the upper half of the frequency range, again, use similar controls there. Pretty nifty. As he says in his video, all you've got is plus and minus 6 cut or boost, and you've only got 2 sort of frequency bands where you can use that. So it's not so much a tone control as much as it is to find the annoying or deficit parts of your speaker's response and fix those with these controls. Pretty nice set of controls here. A pretty neat device. I will probably, at least at first, simply turn the tone controls off and see how this sounds. Now inside there are dip switches to control what happens to the power of devices you have plugged into the back when you select the different devices on the front panel. So you can adjust your dip switches so that they're always on, Or you can select the dip switches so that selecting different inputs turns those same devices on and off. And the delay options that he has in there are so that, you know, if you just sort of mishit, the on and off don't happen for some preset amount, you know, say a couple of seconds or maybe longer or shorter. Again, I will probably just leave those to always on. That's what I'm used to, but that can be a pretty handy little thing there. All right, we got it all hooked up here. Here's our Clayton preamp using the Adcom GFA 545 Mark II power amp and my old trusty modded Magnavox CDB 582. And I've just, you know, been into using this particular track as a test track. Alright, sounding pretty good. You know, might be a tad on the shiny side, but I mean, it's a shiny song, so maybe that's a good thing. If there was something I didn't particularly like about the Macintosh, it was that it dulled that shininess in that song. But I don't know, it's got maybe a bit of a glare. Anyway, I want to try now, I'll hook it up to, I'm going to hook up same, you know, power amp and source to the Phase Linear 2000, just for comparison purposes. And I think that should be a pretty fair comparison given the sorts of preamps that these are, that they're both using op amps in their circuits, and they're both all analog. Of course, this one's quite a bit older than the Clayton here. But let's check it out. All right, let's try it now with the Phase Linear. It's hard to tell a real difference there. Maybe the Phase Linear had a little less of that shine. Still a pretty shiny song, but probably ought to try a different track. I don't know, for something pretty different. Okay, let's try the other one. Okay, back to the Clayton. Bit of a buzz even with the volume all the way down. I didn't notice that with the Phase Linear. Probably better hook that one back up and see what it sounds like. Let's see that again, hear that again. It's not particularly loud, but it is noticeable.
Sure is.
Fuck you. I'll sit.
I waited until you were at a part
when you could comment.
Well, yeah, I've been standing here for like 7 minutes, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Aren't you special? Ladies and gentlemen, Alden Lancaster. Little shit.
Worth it.
Yeah. I guess. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
And obviously I came down here because I wanted something, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, okay. What do you want?
Can you trim the back of my neck? Would you get a chance?
Yeah, let me just do this one thing and then...
Okay.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do the back of your neck. I promise I'll do a good job. I won't slip.
Hey, I was polite enough to wait.
Yeah. Alright, let's try the other preamp. See if it buzzes too. Yeah, it's pretty much completely silent, isn't it? I mean, if I turn the volume all the way up, it's got a bit of a buzz, but not with the volume down. Alright, I want to check this Clayton one out again. Interesting. It's not completely independent of the volume control. I think right now there's practically no buzz. There's like a specific spot in the volume range here where there's almost no buzz. But in general, it is independent of the volume. Let's see what happens when I actually power off the CD player. Okay, so I mean, it makes sense that if it's generally independent of the volume that it's not coming from the source. Huh. Oh. Okay. It's independent of the source. I mean, I just switched to one of the inputs that's not even connected. Let me see what happens when I ground one of those. Got my handy grounding plugs. Okay, it's still buzzing with the grounded input. Yeah, all else being equal, of course, I'd rather it were silent. All right. So I do want to give this thing a chance in my main system here. And I've been listening to it as it is with the Audio Research LS15. And I'm going to do a test for you with an album that I've recently bought. John McLaughlin's My Goals Beyond. This, of course, is the 80s reissue of the early 70s recording. And I didn't know what to expect on this. But the first track on it kind of blew me away. It's a Mingus composition, Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. I haven't cleaned this album yet. I picked this up in Fayetteville, Arkansas recently at my old buddy Wade's store, which is I gotta say, pretty world-class record store, at least by my estimation. Maybe that's just based on my limited access to good record stores here in Corvallis. Not that we don't have good record stores, it's just they're good small-town record stores. Wade's is like a serious... I don't mean to say that my local record stores aren't serious record stores, but Wade's is next level. Just gotta say it. If you're watching, Wade, hey, got your back. All right. All right, I think this is ready. All right, time to make the change. Well, I gotta say, that sounded really nice. I'm still hearing that buzz. I'm wondering whether it might have something to do with the gain settings in the preamp. Wonder if it's set a little hot. That seemed louder than previous preamp, whereas the volume's only set to here. So I think I am going to experiment with that a little bit, and then I want to experiment with the real features of this preamp, which have to do with the equalization, and that'll be a little involved, but let's see what I can figure out. Well, the gain setting had no effect on the buzz. Still, I'm going to listen to it. I put it down, I think 6 dB. It's got dip switches in it. It's got minus 3 dB and plus 6 dB switches. So if you've got the minus 3 dB switches off and the 6 dB switches on, then you're sort of 6 dB up. Then if you leave the plus 6 dB up and put on the minus 3 dB as well, then you're only, say, 3 dB up. Then knock back the 3 dB, minus 3 dB and the 6 dB, now you're 0 dB. And then switch up the minus 3 dB and now you're down your minus 3 dB. So you can go from 6 up to 3 up to 0 to 3 down. Something like that. So I've now got it in the, I guess, the 0 dB setting. And we'll see what the volume needs to be. The volume control here needs to be now. So that does seem more comparable now to the sensitivity of the ARC. Now I want to experiment with tone controls. I'm going to see if I can use the phone that I usually use as my function generator. I think I've got to turn on Bluetooth here. Oh, that's interesting.
Bluetooth mode. Waiting for the connection.
Whoa. Okay. Waiting.
Connect.
Okay. Interesting, huh? That's a little freaky. Alright, now the idea is that I can now go back to my function generator, slide up and down the frequency values and see where there might be dips or peaks in the response that I hear from the listening position. So let me turn the camera around and see if we can figure that out. Or maybe I don't need to turn on the tone controls. Maybe specifically I need to not, in order to hear the flat setting. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, let's see now. I don't know. Anybody hear any holes or peaks? other than it seems to be nearly nothing below 40 hertz. Okay, I'm hearing it drop out pretty severely below 40 hertz, and really below like 100, I think. Maybe below 200. And that's sounding a little over bright at around 4K there. Sounding fine around 2.5 kilohertz. I don't know. It's just those frequencies are kind of irritating, so. Yeah, that 4K. Yikes. Alright, so what I'm going to try is I'm going to knock down 4K a bit. Probably pretty narrow. And then I'm going to boost lows pretty broadly. Let's see what I can figure out. Frequency options go all the way down to 22 and all the way up to 16. And then 0 should be straight up, and I've got plus and minus 6 dB to work with. I'm thinking maybe if I go down to 20 and make that the broadest 6 dB up, see what that does. And then at about 4K, do a pretty narrow at 4K cut. Let's see what that sounds like now. I don't know if it's really making up much in the bass. I'll try broadening out that. Let's see. I'll tell you what, let's see what that sounds like now. Play with the that bass a little bit more, see if I can actually get that to bump appreciably. Oh, duh.
Bluetooth mode. Waiting for the connection. Connect.
Clearly this is a pretty fiddly thing, but let's just put on something different.
With your bright yellow eyes to keep me tight, keep me away. And I think I need a little more. You have nothing to offer to keep me tight. With your bright silver crown.
So where I have landed here is the treble stuff I've put at 0 dB, so no more boosting or dropping treble stuff. And I've got the bass frequency turned all the way down and the boost at about 3 dB and the width to, like say 3/4 of the widest it can be. So I think what that's telling me is that I need a subwoofer, which I guess I kind of knew already, but I thought I had a pretty good bass boost in this room. But yeah, I'm finding that I like that little bit of extra bass at the bottom. Not a whole lot, and I'm not sure that it's still not a bit too much, but yeah, I think this is telling me I need a subwoofer. Huh. Oh boy. Well, it's interesting. I also just find myself, I'm not sure I feel like I trust myself to fiddle with the tone controls. Which is weird. I mean, in a way, I like the audio research preamp because it has no tone controls and it just alleviates me of the responsibility to fiddle. There's no fiddling to be done. There's not even a balance control. I don't have to fiddle with stuff. But I gotta admit, I kind of like that extra bass boost that I'm getting with this particular setting here. But, it's kind of like a loudness button. But, it's active at all volume levels, so I think I need a subwoofer. But, without a subwoofer, this is doing a reasonable job of giving me that little bit of extra bass that I'm lacking otherwise. Maybe. Well, I think I'm going to cut it off here. I'm going to keep this in my system for a bit, see what I think. But I think I'm just going to cut the video here. It's a nice preamp. It's not, I don't know that it's in the same league as the audio research. I'm not hearing quite the openness and clarity that I feel like I get with the audio research preamp. What I figured was that if you're going to want a preamp like this, you're going to probably want it for the features that it has. Now, I'm not even using all of those in terms of the power on and off kind of capabilities that it has. In fact, I'm not using those at all, but I am, I did mess a bit with the total gain to lower the sensitivity a bit. Well, I think I dropped it 6 dB. And is that right? Lowered the sensitivity? Yeah. And these tone controls, which do a thing. And they're very, you have a lot of freedom to figure out what exactly you want that thing to be with these tone controls. You can use it to fix, say, if you've got room modes or whatever, or bright spots in your speaker's response. You can use this to try to fix those. Or you can use it like a bass boost like I'm doing right now because I don't have a subwoofer. Or whatever. So it's pretty flexible. I think that the design is to be to fix, at least according to David's own video about these controls, the idea is to be able to fix deficiencies in your speaker's response. But they can also be used as, like I'm essentially doing it here, to make up for the lack of a subwoofer, to some degree. you know, to give that little extra bit of bass that seems to be lacking from these speakers. You know, it's the kind of thing, that kind of bass, it's like, you don't really notice that you're missing it until you kick it in, and then you're like, oh, I kind of like that extra bass in there. And whether it's really extra or whether it's really just making up, you know, the idea here, I think, is that it's just making up for something that these speakers can't quite do on their own. Still got that bit of a buzz, which is kind of annoying, but at least it's at a constant level. It's, you know, it's going to be drowned out by the music. It's pretty low. It's pretty low buzz. I mean, it's actually, you know, most of what I'm hearing is the actual hum of this tube amp, I think, which doesn't come through the speakers, comes from the tube amp itself. And then when I stick my ears up next to the speakers, I hear that buzz. And I don't know what exactly that's from. That's likely a power supply buzz. Whether it's using I don't know whether he's using a linear power supply. I think he is. I don't think it's a switching mode. I think it's a linear power supply. But there does seem to be some power supply buzz in there. It's pretty common. It's hard to get rid of. I think I will leave it at that then. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. What do you think? I'll learn a little bit when I also do the side-by-side, you know, video editing of these clips, but yeah. Mostly, I hope you tune in again. And if you do, I will talk to you later. Cheers.